Hello everyone, it is MisterStubstep, and today I'm bringing you a vertical video on a topic that I think is kind of interesting. So this isn't going to be a super high production video. As you can see, I'm in my freaking notes on my iPhone, but we're gonna go through some photos and just go through some data, and I want to see what you guys think. So if you didn't see from the title or the thumbnail, I'm going to be doing CGC versus PSA versus BGS as far as prices go. What do people value the most out of all these? This topic has been hit on by a lot of other people in kind of like little ways here and there, and just like pros and cons and all that stuff. But I just straight up want to break down with one card how the prices are looking compared to CGC, PSA, and BGS. So right here, I have pretty much what I'm asserting. I have that 1 through 8, CGC is less than PSA in price for those. And I'm going to have like examples of all these. So, and then the CGC 9 is less than the BGS 9, is less than the PSA 9, is less than the CGC 9.5, is less than the BGS 9.5, is less than the PSA 10, is less than the CGC 10, is less than the BGS 10, is less than the CGC Perfect 10, is less than the BGS Black Label 10. So some things to consider when, because it's very easy to just cherry pick data to meet exactly what I'm trying to meet, which is what I'm pretty much going to do to illustrate my point. But that's where I want to get feedback from y'all, just to see, you know, if you've seen other things or just maybe how things are trending or whatever. So the era of the card. The card that I will be showing you, let's see if you guys can guess, but the card that I'll be showing you is a modern card. And to me, it just makes the most sense to analyze because where are we going? We're going to the future. Don't get me wrong. You know, PSA owns the vintage market. You know, BGS has some stuff here and there. And then CGC's kind of slowly started, you know, sprinkling its way throughout all of the generations. But mainly modern is where CGC's coming in because it's just more affordable. PSA is only accepting super high prices right now. And then BGS kind of has all the same issues that PSA was having. But, you know, it's at that level. And then CGC, of course, increased their prices. Also, the type of card. So if this is like, I don't know, like a really legendary card or like the condition, or that's just another thing to consider when you know, bouncing between these prices, as well as subgrades. So for subgrades, it's funny because flippers or people that, you know, grade cards to sell them immediately, they don't like subgrades because it costs extra. But buyers love subgrades because it is way more descriptive for what you're actually buying. Like, sure, you can take all the nice close-up photos, but if you literally have a computer or, you know, a professional that's given grades to each of the specific aspects of a card, it's just very descriptive and it's very transparent on what card you actually have and like what condition it's in. So I don't know, I just always thought subgrades was worth it, but for CGC and BGS specifically, if there are subgrades involved, generally it's going to be a better price, especially, you know, because you can see if it's a strong 9 or a strong 10 or a weak 10, weak 9, whatever. Also, timing in the market. So in case you haven't noticed, we're currently kind of on a downward trend as far as Pokemon prices go, which is completely fine. We were all expecting this eventually, but that does play a part in it. I mean, you go way back when a set first comes out, cards are selling for like 10 times what they should be selling for. And then, you know, as more cards enter the market, it goes down and then it kind of lulls. And then if an event happens or popularity builds, then it can start increasing again. And then, yeah. I've already mentioned cherry picking the data. It's very easy to cherry pick the data, but I just wanted to pick out one example that would kind of illustrate my point, and then we can just kind of go from there. And then in the end, we'll just talk the features. So starting out, we have the Charizard V, Shiny Charizard V from Champion's Path. And this is just a CGC 9, no subgrades, as you can see right there. And it sold for $240 free shipping. So, you know, very respectable. I think that's actually a little bit less than what you could maybe buy it ungraded, which is kind of funny to me, but 85 bids. So CGC 9, $240. We have a CGC 9, but with 4 subgrades. This is not a straight 9. It's a little bit less than a straight 9, so I wouldn't even want to call this a weak 9, but it's pretty much a weak 9. This sold for $275. Now, keep in mind, all of these were pretty much sold in the month of May or April, so like, if you would have sold at the beginning of April, generally the average of those cards selling was a little bit higher than what they're selling for, you know, now in recent times in May. But I try to get them all as close as possible so the time factor wouldn't be too much of an influence. So 275 CGC 9. We have the BGS 9 with subgrades. $300. Let's look at the subgrades on this. So this appears to be a little bit stronger of a 9, corners at 8.5, but surface 10, centering and edges at 9.5. So you could argue because it have better grades, that's why it sold for more. I personally just think BGS looks really good with shiny Charizard in general, especially the silver or the gold or the black, especially the black label. I just think that looks really good. And it is a stronger 9, but I think people appreciate the BGS 9 a little bit more because it's just more pleasing. CGC has like a clean look, but it doesn't have like a very, I don't even want to say classy. I don't know how to explain a sophisticated look quite yet. Now we go to the PSA 9. So going back to my previous point, or I'll have it like down below at like what point I'm trying to illustrate as far as what's better than what. But this Charizard's only sold for $280, so actually less than the BGS 9 that I just showed you. But if you look at this BGS 9 that was sold also recently, it sold for $265, all within, you know, a couple weeks of each other. So, you know, it fluctuates on it. Like if you took all the averages of all the 9s, you know, I feel like PSA might be slowly, you know, on a decline and all that because there's a lot of unknowns with them, especially like what their future is. It's like we all want to be hopeful and it should be a good future, but who knows, you know, if they open up again in July, how much the computer and all that stuff is going to be involved within the grading process. It's just a lot of unknowns. And yeah, this one sold for slightly less. So you have the 300, the 265, and then the PSA 9 sitting right in the middle. I think my argument works a lot better for vintage cards, but I just wanted to illustrate this with modern. I still think PSA 9 slightly beats BGS 9, but we will continue. We have the CGC 9.5, $375. Okay, we're starting to get up there a little bit. You can see the subgrades here. It's about an even 9.5 if you average it. It's about 9.5 all around. So a fairly true 9.5. Not exactly true, but fairly true. 375, not bad. We have the BGS 9.5, $435. Wow. So this one actually did very well. It's a slightly stronger 9.5 than the CGC one that we just went over. So that kind of makes sense on why it might do a little bit better. But I mean, that difference is what, $60 difference. So I don't know. Do you think that grade alone is $60 difference, or do you think BGS has a little something behind it? And then we have the PSA 10. So a lot of people will be like, if you get a BGS 9.5 or a CGC 9.5, it's a PSA 10. You know, I've honestly, from what I've seen and just watching people's videos and all that, it looks like PSA is grading a little bit harder. I'm sure a lot of those old school 10s that got 10s probably wouldn't get 10s, maybe not even 9s. But a PSA 10 is just, it's just an iconic, when you think of grading, it's extremely iconic. So a PSA 10, $530, considerably more than these two, when you could argue that they're about in the same condition. Like PSA 10s, they allow for a little bit of you know, variability on the centering and all that stuff. So not too much, but definitely a little something. So PSA 10, we have the CGC 10 selling for considerably more than the PSA 10. But if you look at the subgrades right there, you got 10 centering, 10 surface, 10 corners, 9.5 edges. So not quite the perfect. $700. Honestly, very respectable. If only they learned how to center their 10s, I feel like this would look so much better. But $700, not bad for a CGC 10. Then we get to the BGS 10. So this one, pretty much not identical subgrades, but numbers-wise, the same subgrades. Like if you were to take the average, $670. So this one actually sold for a little bit less. Yeah, so this one did all right. I'm trying to think if oh yeah, okay, here we go. So I showed this as like the low point of a BGS 10 for the Charizard V, and it had nearly the same subgrades. But then if you look at this BGS 10, sold for $1,025. So this one sold for more than this one, but this one sold for way more. Once again, we could argue semantics and averages all day, but I just think the BGS 10 holds a little bit more value, at least currently, over the CGC 10. And then we move into the black label BGS 10. I mean, it looks so well with the Charizard V. Like, let's be real, that just looks amazing. $4,850. very respectable price for one of these. And, you know, it's one of those perfect cards. I mean, looking at it from here, it looks pretty solid. And it is a considerable price hike. I mean, we started in the 200, 300 range, then we bump up to 1,000, and then we're at almost $5,000. And this is fairly recent. Like, I'm sure this card was going for way more, probably like maybe $6,000 to $10,000 when these cards first came out last year. But, and then we're kind of going a little bit out of order, but the CGC perfect black, or they said perfect black label, but it's a perfect 10, so 10s all around. This one actually sold for $3,000. If anybody's like learned from CGC, CGC is not, they're not easy graders. Like they grade pretty hardcore. You're not going to get anything by them like easy or anything like that. Look at that. He even has a nice swirl right there. I'm kidding. I know it's a light. But 3,000, 4,850. So black label still reigns king in my opinion. But a perfect 10 all around for CGC, you'll get some money. Like people recognize and respect, you know, their grading quality, and they will recognize the quality of that card. So, I mean, PSA 10, where's PSA 10? Let's go back. $530. So, all of these definitely better than the PSA 10. So, I think the breakdown makes sense, but if you guys think, like, any way besides that, I'd be curious. I know, like, all those variables that I mentioned at the beginning, a lot of that can vary, like, by card. And like some, like a lot of the older cards, like there's no CGC cards that even exist of them. So that's why I had to choose a modern card like this that is very popular, has a lot of sales, is constantly getting bought and sold. And it just, I think it illustrated my point the best. And then as far as the future, so once again, there's a lot of unknowns about PSA. I feel like BGS will always be like that solid second place. And now that CGC's kind of entered in the ring, you know, PSA and CGC are going to be kind of duking it out for that first place. But I feel like BGS will always be like that solid go-to, you know, has pretty much the similar problems as all the other grading companies, like wait times and all that stuff. And anything less than a 9, I don't know why, but they're just very inconsistent with, I don't know like what they're going off of, but it just seems very inconsistent compared to CGC and even PSA. But I think in the future, you know, there's still a lot of unknowns with PSA, but I honestly can see CGC just really kind of taking off. I think one of the only things, to be honest, that might hold them back slightly is their label. I think their label looks very clean, but you'd be surprised how well like or how far color coordination can go. If you've seen anything with sports cards, like I think it's like HGC or I forget what the other grading company is, but they've been like, they coordinate the cases with the cards themselves, and like a lot of like the different parallels or, you know, different hollow patterns that they have, if it matches the jersey of the team that player plays for, it goes for way more, even if it's like not as rare, because it just, that color coordination and just that display factor. So I think that's the only thing that's holding CGC back right now. I think they have a ton of potential for the future. PSA does too, but they're a classic, and they're like the OG, and they're what I would like to send to the most, but their prices have increased. They're probably going to increase again in July, and I feel like they just need to catch up with the times. I feel like that's what they're in the process of doing, but because there's so many unknowns, who knows? And BGS is just always just kind of chilling there, like, what's up? You need your cards graded? We got you, you know? So that's pretty much all I have for this video. I know it was not super high production value or anything, and I'm just showing you screenshots and photos and all that stuff. But I just thought this was an interesting topic. I really want to know your opinion. If you think this breakdown or this order is correct, you know, let me know. If you think it's incorrect, please let me know how this should be readjusted. I do think in the future it has a ton of potential to change, but I think as of right now, this is a good lineup for where it currently sits, at least especially with like modern cards. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and if this is your second video of mine, consider subscribing. If you like what you saw, leave a like. If you don't like what you saw, leave a dislike or give me some feedback down below on how I can improve. That's pretty much all I have. For tomorrow's video, I should be doing a value discussion, but we shall see. If my week gets too busy, it might not come out, but it should come out. It should come out. Trust in the system. All right. You guys have a great day.